the most of Mailchimp. This is part 2, and we're going to talk about the bang and the buck and the target audience. So here's the agenda for this video. We're going to talk about the goals for the course and part 2 of this course. We'll have the key takeaways from the More Than a Message training that you may have taken already. We'll do a quick recap from part 1. We'll talk about the bang and the buck. We'll review the slope. We'll talk about how to put your target audience into Mailchimp. And finally, how to organize the target audience in Mailchimp. So let's talk about the goals for the course and part 2 of the course. So the goals for the course as a whole are this. You'll understand the big picture of Mailchimp, and you'll have the fundamental knowledge that you need to figure out all the various features on your own. And after completing part 2, you'll understand how Mailchimp fits into an outreach effort and what kind of performance you can start to expect from it. So let's talk about the key takeaways from the More Than a Message training. That's one of our primary trainings that we offer at Waterwords That Work. And when you take the More Than a Message training, you'll learn that no matter how good your message is, the target audience will overlook it, ignore it, or forget it most of the time. Now, the rookies get their feelings hurt when this happens, but the veterans, they know it's coming, and they're ready for it. And here's what that means, practically speaking, when you're sending messages out of Mailchimp. We know that most of the people who receive our message, they're not going to open it. We know that most of the subscribers that open our message aren't going to click on a link. And we know that most of the people that click on a link are not going to complete whatever conversion opportunity we have on that landing page. If you apply the lessons of this course, you'll maximize the rate at which they do, but most will still not do it. In the More Than a Message course, we learn to attempt to reach the audience in 3 to 5 different ways at the same time. And we learn how to measure how each attempt performs so we can steadily get better over time. And practically speaking in Mailchimp, that means we're going to cheerfully email our subscribers several times, even if they ignore us. And we are going to read those reports that Mailchimp provides. And we won't solely rely on email to accomplish our outreach goals. So let's do a quick recap from part 1. About 3/4 of Americans are sending and receiving email. If someone doesn't have an email address, they're probably pretty old, very young, or can barely read. They're going to be hard to reach under almost any circumstances. The frequency that we recommend for emails is this. When you acquire a new email address, you should send them 3 to 5 emails in pretty short order, and then monthly to quarterly after that for routine newsletters. And then occasionally you can spend a special edition for events and big announcements. A landing page is where the subscriber ends up after they click on a link in your email. It's best practice to put part of your message in the email and the rest of the message on a landing page on your website and invite the subscriber to link back to your landing page. Mailchimp knows how many people click back to your landing page because they put a tracking link or a tracking code on the end of all the links that you put in your message. That's the code in red. Anybody who clicks on a link in Mailchimp, Mailchimp knows it because they put the tracking code on there. The open rate is Mailchimp's estimate for how many subscribers opened and read your email, at least partially, and it's an estimate. It's not 100% accurate. And the click-through rate is the percentage of subscribers who clicked on a link to reach your landing page. If your click-through rate is high, that means you're sending good emails and you have a healthy list. If your click-through rate is low, that means your emails aren't very good or your list isn't very healthy. So let's talk about the bang and the buck. That's a concept from the More Than a Message training. And in the vernacular of the More Than a Message training, email is middle bang, middle buck. You're going to expect that your conversion rate on emails, the normal range, is somewhere between 0.5% and 5%. If you're getting better than 5%, good for you. Share your secrets. If you're getting less than 0.5%, something's wrong and you better look into it. That's the normal range. And most of our clients are using Mailchimp to send messages to hundreds or a few thousand subscribers. It's a good direct message. If you have a larger group, that's terrific, but very few of our clients do. And if the list is smaller than a few hundred subscribers, you're going to probably be happier if you try and reach them more personally. So let's talk about the slope. That's another key concept from the More Than a Message training. And here's the chart. It starts on the left with defining your target audience. Then you have to get a message to your target audience, and that's called the impressions. Most of the time, the audience overlooks, forgets, or ignores your message. But a small percentage of them will convert. Most of those who convert will agree to be cultivated, and then a small percentage of them will go on to the big steps. In part 2 of Make the Most of Mailchimp, we're going to show you how all of that works with email. So let's talk about how that target audience finds its way into Mailchimp. You can only send Mailchimp messages to people that you have an email address for. So that's on the slope. That's the far left, defining your target audience and putting them into the Mailchimp account. Now, the federal can spam law makes it Mailchimp's business who your subscribers are and how you got them. And Mailchimp wants your subscribers to be individuals who have agreed to receive emails from you. Mailchimp does not want to see your subscribers mark your emails as spam. Mailchimp likes it best when somebody signs up for an email newsletter through a sign-up form and puts themselves into your Mailchimp account. That's what they like the best. And Mailchimp has a built-in feature to create sign-up forms, which you can then place on your website. Mailchimp also likes it when your subscribers have filled out some other kind of form and checked a box or otherwise indicated that they want to receive your emails. Now, Mailchimp grudgingly accepts that you're going to import personal contacts without the explicit permission of those individuals. They don't like it, but they do put up with it. Now, here's a gray area. What you see here on the screen is our Meltwater Reporter database. This is a database that we use to create lists of journalists to send emails to. Now, it's a gray area because it's reporters' jobs to receive emails, and they are unlikely to flag a message as spam. But Mailchimp doesn't like it when you buy people's email addresses, and that's what you're doing when you use a news database like Meltwater. Using Mailchimp to send lists that you have bought or rented is a violation of the terms of service. And if you visit websites and crawl over those websites, plucking email addresses off of the websites, that's called scraping, and that's also a violation of the terms of service. So let's talk about how you organize the target audience in Mailchimp. One of the things that we've observed is that Waterwords clients tend to have all of the email addresses all in one big pile, and that's not the best way to do it. So in Mailchimp, you have 5 different ways that you can organize your target audience. You have subscribers, you have an account, there's lists, there's groups, and segments. And we encourage you at the start of your Mailchimp adventure to spend some time thinking hard about the best way to organize those subscribers. And so the subscriber is the obvious one. That's a person who owns an email address that you have in your mail account. And subscribers do not last forever. They tend to go stale at a rate of about 25% a year. You are always on the hunt for more subscribers to replace the ones that are going stale. The top level is the account, and that's the level that you pay for it, basically. Whatever level you are paying for it, that's where the account lives. But an account can be organized into multiple lists. You can have as many lists as you like. Here's the Waterwords account. The Waterwords account has a Waterwords list with about 1,700 email addresses on it. But the Waterwords account also has a Newcastle County list. That's a list for our clients. We also have lists for other clients. We also have a practice list. In your Mailchimp account, the lists are entirely separate from each other. If a subscriber unsubscribes from one list, they might still be subscribed in another. If they change their email address in one list, they might change they will still be the same in a different list. The lists are entirely separate from each other. The lists can be organized any way you like, but all the subscribers in the list will be organized the same way. They're going to have the same fields. The fields will have the same names. And keeping all that organized is one of the big keys for success with Mailchimp. Forms are associated with lists. If you create a Mailchimp form, it's going to drop the subscribers into a list. The default settings for your emails are also at the list level. So the default from name, the default from email, all of those things are set at the list level. You can change them every time you send an email if you want to, but the defaults are set at the list level. Now a list can have many groups in it. And the best way to organize your groups is around different types of people. Reporters like press releases, so create a list or create a group in Mailchimp to send press releases. Elected officials and staff, they like to get petitions and information from their constituents, so you could create a group for them. Scientists like scientific papers and scientific updates, you can create a group for them. Permit holders need to know about when the permits will be issued and what the rate structure is. The best way to organize the groups is around types of people who have similar interests and want to receive the same kinds of messages. Now here's the outreach strategy brief. That's the basic Waterwords planning document. And we have a section in there for target audiences. And you'd see a grid that looks like this, and you might put some information in there. The name of your group, the number of subscribers, and you'd credit Mailchimp as the source so you know the size of that group. Now, groups can have a lot of segments in them too. So here are some rules of thumb. Is it a group or is it a segment? If you're going to send emails to those subscribers over and over and over again, that's probably a group. But if you're going to only send an email to those subscribers one time, that's probably a segment. That's a rule of thumb, not the law. Does that sound complicated? Yeah, it's not, actually. Think about a spreadsheet. A Mailchimp list is a lot like a spreadsheet. And the groups in that list are like tabs on the spreadsheet. And the segments in the list are like columns on that tab. And when you create a segment, that's a lot like sorting a spreadsheet. Now, figuring out how to take all your subscribers and organize them into lists and groups and segments can feel like a little kid eating your vegetables. It's not a lot of fun. But once you've done it, now it feels like you're eating dessert. It makes Mailchimp much easier to use, and you get much better results. And that's part 2, make the most of Mailchimp, the bang, the buck, and the target audience.